This is going to be the best sales video that you ever watch on YouTube, on the internet, period. Because in this video, I'm going to teach you the closing strategy that I used between the ages of 22 and 24, and I still use in my career, that's generated over $40 million in deal volume and millions of dollars for myself in my own business. And it's called return on investment selling. And we're going to shorten it to ROI selling. But before we get into everything here, I want you to understand something. When we're looking at selling products, when we're looking at selling anything, there are going to be something called drawbacks. This is also known as objections or buying resistance. And so I got some notes here I'm going to reference because this is so important. I had to write it down. And so there's 4 categories of drawbacks. So number 1 is that the product is just simply too complicated, or it sounds too complicated to use. Drawback number 2 is the product just simply isn't important enough. People don't really care about it. And drawback number 3 is that the product costs too much. Compared to everything else in the marketplace, it's simply too expensive, or it's simply not worth the value. So drawback number 4 is that the product is so cheap or inexpensive that people are thinking that it's too good to be true, and there's probably something wrong with it. Now, the entire sales process that you are going to go through when you're selling anything. It doesn't matter if you work at a pet shop and you're selling hamsters. It doesn't matter if you're selling life insurance. It doesn't matter if you're selling loans, info products, whatever it may be. All of these drawbacks, all of these different things are the themes and the stories that prospects tell themselves when they are buying products. Is it worth it? Is it too expensive? Am I going to get the value from it? What's wrong with it? What's the catch? So your job as a salesperson is to eliminate all of these drawbacks. And you can also use this when you're writing copy as well, when you're doing written persuasion and things like that. But like I said, we're going to focus on sales in this video. So you can use all of this stuff to eliminate objections on the front end. This is called the pre-frame. Now, you have to have emotional and logical cases as to why all of these drawbacks and all of these objections that people are going to have aren't true. And you do that by justifying the value of your product. You do it by being as transparent as possible and really just doing everything that you possibly can on the front end of the sale and also in your marketing to justify the value and make everything make sense. The entire goal of marketing is for you to eliminate prospects' objections on the front end. Once the marketing is done, the sales process can begin. So I want you to really understand that. So when we look at going into return on investment based selling, I used this framework when I was in corporate sales because we were selling money at a discount. I was in loan sales, if you guys didn't know already, and we were selling money at a discount. Now, essentially in a loan, you say, well, okay, Mr. John, I'll give you 100 grand and here's the payment, here's the price, here's what it is. Now, how much do you think if I give you that 100 grand, how much do you think that you're going to make off of that if I'm able to get this to you in the next 24 to 48 hours? And so this is where we start the return on investment process, because now the prospect is going to tell me, okay, well, here's what we're using the funds for, or here's, in any other sort of case, here's what the product does. Does it make money? Does it save money? Does it save time? Does it give you pleasure? Does it eliminate pain? What does the product actually do? And so we use what the product does or what the product will do for them in the future in order to begin to justify the return on investment that your prospect is going to get when they spend money with you. So I'll use the loan example. So if Mr. John over here is going to get 100 grand in financing and he is using it to buy inventory, or he's using it for advertising, or he's doing something that has a direct return on investment within the next 6 to 12 months, I can then ask him, I can say, hey, how much do you think you're going to be able to make off of this? And so then what I would do is I would get an idea, and this is before I even pitched him the price, before I even walked him through the application, just so that I could eliminate all of the objections on the front end of the sale. And I'll show you guys why this is very important, because as soon as he gave me that information, all I needed to do was justify the price versus the return on investment or the ROI. And how I did that was I would just get an idea of what he's looking to make, and then I would use something called an assumption or a label in order to get him to move forward and tell me what his profit margin is. Because people love to correct themselves. People love to, if I say the sky is red, someone's going to tell me, no, you're wrong, the sky is blue, especially on Twitter, especially on the internet. All these people love to do that. They love to correct other people. So what you want to do, and and I want you guys to understand, this is not out of manipulation, because if you're selling a quality product, or you're selling something that's going to genuinely benefit the other person, which your product should do, it's your job as the salesperson or as the founder or as the business owner to get them moving forward, because the product is going to do so well for them, because it's going to change their lives. So as soon as John told me his profit numbers, or what he was looking to make on top line revenue, I would say, okay, well, you're in XYZ business. Usually those margins are around 20 to 30%. Is that about right? Or it sounds like you guys have some expenses, you guys have all these other things going on, so your margins are about 30%. And then he would correct me and he would say, no, we do 50%, no, we do 10%, no, we do 15% in most cases. Or they just smile, nod, and agree, where they say, yeah, 20, 30%. So as soon as they give you that profit margin information, you then justify the price of your service, whether it's an agency service, whether it's a loan, whatever it is that you're selling, and you justify that price to the profit that they're going to make on it, because no one in their right mind should give a fuck about top line revenue. It's all about what you make on the service. It's all about what you make on the product as the business owner, as the buyer. And so as a salesperson, you have to understand, look, on top line revenue, you're going to do this, and you break it down for them. On top line revenue, okay, we'll increase the business from 1.2 million to 1.8 million over the next 12 months with this extra 100 grand, or with XYZ service, with your email marketing, or whatever you want to, whatever you're selling. And so you then just go through the sales process. So if they're going to make an extra $600,000 and their profit margin is 30%, then you know that they're going to profit $180,000 on, in this case, in this example, the financing that we're going to give them. Great. So we would then take them through the application. We walk them through the sales process. We talk about what our product does and how it's going to be useful to them. This is called the value build. And then when we start to get into pricing options, when we start to go over what the pricing is going to be for the customer or for the client or for the prospect, we then tie in the price. So our price is going to be $15,000 or $10,000 on the cost of this loan. Here's the repayment. And then what I would say is, based on the profit that you guys are going to make on that $180,000, this is only going to cost you $10,000 or $15,000 to do. So all in, if you guys are able to achieve that target, you guys are going to walk away at the end of this deal with $165,000 left over after you pay all of your expenses and after we get paid. And I cannot think of a situation, and I had done close to 1,000 deals by the time I turned 24 years old, where this did not work gangbusters. The reason why is because when you're in some sort of service-based business, if you're running an agency, if you're running any kind of business, most times you're selling money at a discount, specifically services. And I'm not going to talk about the 4 levels of consumer psychology in this video, or buyer psychology, but essentially most service-based businesses are, you take their money and you give them back more money. And if you can't do that, then you shouldn't be in business anyway, and you're not going to be in business for very long. But it's a very clear-cut way to get deals moving forward, because they don't have to think about the numbers. This is so important, because a lot of people use assumptions and they use projections, and they make these wild claims. All you're doing throughout this process is talking about, based on the industry standards or based on the industry average, you then walk them through how much that they're going to make on this service or on this purchase from them paying you money. Now, how do we actually do this and make it make sense? Now, this is going to be industry specific. The reason why it's industry specific is because you have to take industry averages and industry standards from all of the different organizations or all the different companies or competitors. Now, I'll use email for e-com for an example, because I used to sell it. It was the first business that I started after I quit my sales job. All I did was I went to Google, and like Jay-Z says, Google is your friend. I went to Google and I said, what is the average open rate on an email? What is the average click rate? What does the average thing do? And I got all of the industry standard numbers. And what then I did when I was on sales calls was I told the prospect, and you're also psychologically and physically taking control of the conversation when you do this. Because when you write things down, you commit them to memory more often than when you are typing them on a computer. So I would say, hey, do me a favor, let me walk you through this together. Grab a pen and paper, let's write this down together. And so I would just sit there and walk them through the numbers. And this took about 5 to 10 minutes on the sales call. And eventually I got it down to about 2 to 3 minutes. But you walk them through the numbers. So if we are able to do this, or what is your traffic, right? Especially when you're selling online services. If you guys have traffic of X, what's your average traffic? What's your average order value? What are the averages in the client's business? And then we simply break down, okay, well, we're going to use something called conservative estimates. Now, conservative estimates basically are you just taking the industry standards and then cutting them in half or cutting them by 25% and then positioning those industry standards and based on what you can achieve. So even if we don't hit target, here's what the numbers are going to be and here's what the results are going to be. And you break that down with whatever service that you're selling and you simply use that to justify the price. So if we do this in month 1, we do this in month 2, this in month 3, through 6, through 12, however long your contracts are, which I recommend you do at least 3-month long contracts, you walk them through the numbers. They're going to see the numbers right in front of them. So then the only issue is now price isn't an objection because the numbers make sense. The only other objections that you're going to face are, did you convince them that you were the guy, and do they think that it's worth it based on the numbers that you just gave them? Or 3, I don't have money, which is they don't think it's worth it. Or I need to think about it, which means they don't think it's worth it. So your entire job, specifically on the pre-frame, before you go into the ROI selling and doing this entire method and using this, because if you use this, I guarantee you're going to make more sales, because this is something that a lot of people don't think about. And I realized, especially early on in my career, that I could use this and I could just use some math. And I'm not the best at math. I failed calculus. But I could use basic math to get prospects moving forward because I just made it as brain dead simple and easy to follow. This is what you need to be doing with your services because you're always going to be selling to different sophistication levels of the marketplace. You're going to have people that don't really know what your service is or what you're talking about that might want to buy. They want to hear more. They might be interested. You're going to have people who understand, but they might not be the most competent people. And then you're going to have people, especially when you start making more money, who are true operators and want to know every little detail of the business. So use these frameworks because they simply just work. And before you do this, you have to make sure that not only your marketing is good and your sales assets are good, because your sales assets are used to eliminate all of the potential objections on the front end, like being able to convince them that you're the guy, being able to convince them that you're the expert, that someone is going to be convinced by the stuff. And you have to make it very convincing. You have to prove your point. You should want to do the best job that you possibly can in order to convince people so that you can remove these objections. Because if you can do what you say you do, and you can make clients and make customers money, and you can deliver a product that is absolutely phenomenal and absolutely world-class, you will be successful. And using this tactic, I guarantee it's not even a tactic, it's a system, it's a methodology, it's a framework. I use it almost every single day, especially when we're selling deals. It will make you successful. And it'll make you more successful than wherever you are now. I don't care what level of income you're at. Literally, this is so brain dead easy and so brain dead simple. When I figured this out, it was like I just discovered fire. So we want to recap the video, we want to make sure that we're eliminating the drawbacks. Make sure that we're eliminating objections in our marketing and our front end of the sale. Usually the front end of the sale is the longer part of the sale. Handling the objections, people think that's the big back end of the sale. It's always going to take you more time on the front end. And what I want you to also do is I want you to slow down on the front end so that you can make the back end of the sale faster and make it more efficient so you can close more deals faster. So then you just move into when you're pitching the deal and doing your offer presentation, you're just simply, instead of saying, oh, here's all the things that we do, here's how we can make you money, you show them by the numbers with a pen and paper how to make the money. And also when you tell them to grab a pen and paper, you're psychologically and physically taking control of the sale and you are leading the sale. So it's a little trick right there. That being said, use this in your sales process. If you're not using it in your sales process, I don't care what it is that you sell, figure out a way to implement it, and I guarantee it'll make you more money in the future. So that being said, I got the free passive cold call script. Go ahead and get it. And also feel free to check out the software. If you're on an agency business, you need a CRM, you need automations, all that stuff. We're actively going to be building out new features. And like I say in every single video that I make, the reason that I'm making these videos is not only to prove my competency, but also to give you guys as much game and as much value as possible so that eventually you buy something from me in the future, we do some business together, or just so that you're not one of these broke idiots on the internet. So guys, I'll see you in the next video, and thank you for watching.